What happens when two of country music's biggest voices collide in front of a live studio audience, and things get so heated that security has to step in? Well, that's exactly what went down when Faith Hill appeared on the Kelly Clarkson Show. And what started as a friendly interview quickly spiraled into one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, telling me which celebrity feud surprised you the most. Because trust me, you're not going to believe how this one unfolds. Kelly Clarkson sat behind her familiar desk, her signature warm smile beaming as the cameras rolled. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement, knowing they were about to witness something special. Faith Hill, dressed in an elegant black blazer and looking every bit the country music royalty she was, settled into the guest chair with practiced grace. "Faith Hill, everybody," Kelly announced, clapping enthusiastically as the audience erupted in applause. "Thank you so much for being here. I have to say, I've been a fan of yours since I was just starting out in this crazy industry." Faith smiled politely, though something in her eyes seemed guarded. "Thank you for having me, Kelly. It's always nice to meet fellow artists who've made their mark." "Oh, well, I wouldn't say I've made quite the same mark you have," Kelly laughed, her natural humility shining through. "I mean, you're Faith Hill. You've sold over 40 million albums worldwide. You've got 5 Grammys. And don't even get me started on that incredible Las Vegas residency with Tim." "Success comes in many forms," Faith replied, her tone measured. "Some of us have been building our careers for decades, while others seem to find shortcuts to the top." The comment hung in the air for a moment, and Kelly's smile faltered slightly. The audience shifted uncomfortably, sensing an undercurrent they hadn't expected. Kelly, ever the professional, tried to steer the conversation back to safer ground. "Well, I think we've all had our different paths," Kelly said diplomatically. "Speaking of paths, I wanted to talk about your new tour. I heard you're going back to your roots with some of your earliest hits." "That's right," Faith nodded, seeming to relax slightly. "Sometimes you have to remind people where real talent comes from. Not everyone can rely on reality TV to launch their career." This time, the barb was unmistakable. Kelly's cheeks flushed slightly, and the producers behind the cameras exchanged worried glances. Kelly Clarkson had famously won the first season of American Idol. And while she'd built an incredibly successful career beyond that, some still tried to diminish her accomplishments by pointing to her reality TV origins. "You know, Faith," Kelly said, her voice still friendly but with a slight edge, "I think American Idol was actually a pretty legitimate platform. It gave millions of people a chance to showcase their talent, who might never have had that opportunity otherwise. Not everyone has the luxury of being discovered in a more traditional way." "Traditional?" Faith's eyebrows raised. "You mean actually paying your dues, working small venues, writing your own songs, building a fan base the hard way?" "Yes, I suppose some might call that traditional." The tension was palpable. Now, Kelly's famous warmth was being tested in real time, and the audience could feel the temperature in the room dropping. Some viewers at home were probably reaching for their remote controls, while others were leaning forward, sensing they were about to witness television history. "I wrote songs too," Kelly said, her voice becoming firmer. "I've written or co-written many of my biggest hits, since you've been gone, Stronger, Because of You. Those came from real experiences, real emotions. Just because I got my start on a singing competition doesn't make my music any less authentic." Faith leaned back in her chair, a slight smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "Oh, I'm sure they did. Though I have to wonder how much creative control you really had when you were working with those big pop producers. It must be nice to have a whole team of writers and producers crafting your sound for you." "Excuse me?" Kelly's voice rose slightly, and the audience fell completely silent. "Are you seriously questioning my artistic integrity right now on my own show?" "I'm not questioning anything," Faith replied coolly. "I'm just pointing out that some of us have been writing our own songs and making our own artistic decisions since day one. We didn't need a panel of judges or a team of executives to tell us what kind of artist to be." Kelly's hands gripped the edge of her desk, her knuckles turning white. The woman who had built her career on kindness and authenticity was being pushed to a breaking point that few had ever seen. "You know what, Faith? I've always respected you as an artist, but I'm starting to question your character as a person. You come on my show in front of my audience, and you're trying to tear down everything I've worked for. That's not just unprofessional, it's mean." "Mean?" Faith laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Honey, if you think this is mean, you clearly haven't been in this industry long enough. This is reality. Some of us earned our place at the top, and others just got lucky with good timing and a soba story that played well on television. The audience gasped audibly. Kelly's face went red, and for a moment, it looked like she might actually stand up from her chair. The cameras kept rolling, capturing every second of what was becoming one of the most uncomfortable television moments in recent memory. A soba story? Kelly's voice was shaking now, not with nerves, but with anger. My childhood, my struggles, my family's financial problems, that was all real. That was my life. And you're sitting here calling it a soba story. I'm calling it what it was, Faith shot back. A convenient narrative that got you votes and sympathy. Do you think the rest of us didn't have struggles? The difference is we didn't put them on display for the whole world to see just to win a competition. Kelly stood up abruptly, her chair rolling backward. The audience was completely silent now, some people covering their mouths in shock. This was not the Kelly Clarkson Show anyone had expected to see. You want to talk about putting struggles on display? Kelly's voice cut through the studio like a knife. At least I was honest about mine. I didn't pretend to be some perfect country princess while my marriage was falling apart behind the scenes. The words hit Faith like a physical blow. Her composed facade cracked instantly, and something dangerous flashed in her eyes. The audience collectively held its breath, sensing they had just crossed into territory that neither woman could come back from. How dare you? Faith whispered, her voice deadly quiet. How dare you bring my personal life into this? Oh, so now personal lives are off limits? Kelly shot back, her anger fully unleashed. That's rich coming from someone who just spent the last 10 minutes attacking everything personal about my career and my childhood. What's the matter, Faith? Can dish it out but can't take it. Faith slowly rose from her chair, her movements controlled but threatening. You have no idea what you're talking about, little girl. You think because you've had a talk show for a few years that gives you the right to psychoanalyze people who were headlining festivals when you were still singing in church choirs. Church choirs. Kelly laughed bitterly. See, there you go again, trying to minimize everything about me. And little girl, really? I'm a grown woman with children of my own, Faith. I'm not some naive kid you can intimidate. Could have fooled me, Faith replied, her voice dripping with disdain. The way you're acting right now, throwing a tantrum on your own show because someone finally told you the truth about your manufactured career. Manufactured? Kelly took a step toward Faith, and the tension in the room reached a fever pitch. You want to talk about manufactured? Let's talk about how you've spent the last 15 years trying to convince everyone you're still relevant while younger artists pass you by. Let's talk about how desperate you must be for attention to come on my show and start this whole mess. Faith's face went white with rage. Desperate? The only desperate one here is you, Kelly. Desperate to prove you belong in the same conversation as real artists. Desperate to be taken seriously by anyone who matters in this industry. Tell me, how does it feel knowing that no matter how many talk shows you host or how many awards you win, there will always be people who see you as nothing more than a reality TV contestant who got lucky? The cruelty in Faith's words was breathtaking. Several audience members actually gasped out loud, and one woman near the front shook her head in disgust. Kelly's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of pure fury. You know what? Kelly's voice was shaking with emotion. I may have started on a reality show, but at least I'm not a bitter, washed-up has-been who has to tear down other women to feel relevant. At least I don't have to come on someone else's show and act like a complete monster just to get people talking about me again. Washed up. Faith's voice rose to a near shout. I've sold more albums than you ever will, sweetheart. I've had more #1 hits, more Grammy nominations, and more respect from actual musicians than you could dream of. Had being the key word there, Kelly fired back. When was your last #1, Faith? When was the last time anyone under 30 knew who you were without having to Google you first? You're living in the past, and you're so threatened by anyone who's achieved success differently than you did that you can't help but attack them. Faith's hands were trembling now, whether from anger or something else entirely. You think success is measured by how popular you are with teenagers? Real artists don't need to pander to children to feel validated. No, but apparently they do need to come on other people's shows and act like absolute nightmares, Kelly shot back. Is this really who you are, Faith? Is this the person Tim married? Because if it is, I'm starting to understand why there were so many rumors about problems in your marriage. The mention of Tim McGraw hit Faith like a physical blow. Her face contorted with rage, and for a moment, it looked like she might actually lunge at Kelly. The producers were frantically signaling to security, who had already started moving closer to the stage area. "Don't you ever," Faith hissed, pointing a finger directly at Kelly's face, "ever mention my husband again. You don't know anything about my marriage, my family, or my life." "I know enough," Kelly replied, not backing down an inch. "I know that you're so miserable with your own life that you have to come here and try to destroy mine. I know that you're so insecure about your place in this industry that you can't handle seeing someone else succeed. And I know that right now you're showing everyone watching exactly what kind of person you really are." "What kind of person I am?" Faith's laugh was harsh and bitter. "I'm the kind of person who earned everything she has. I'm the kind of person who didn't need America to vote for me to prove I had talent. I'm the kind of person who writes her own songs instead of having them handed to her by a record label. And I'm definitely the kind of person who doesn't pretend to be sweet and innocent while stabbing people in the back." "Stabbing people in the back?" Kelly's voice reached a new level of disbelief. "Are you seriously accusing me of backstabbing when you're the one who came on my show and immediately started attacking me? When you're the one who's been nothing but hostile and condescending from the moment you sat down?" "I've been honest," Faith replied coldly. "Something you clearly wouldn't recognize if it hit you in the face. This whole sweet, relatable persona you've built your career on, it's fake. Everyone in Nashville knows it. Everyone in this industry knows it. The only people who don't know it are your fans, and that's exactly how you like it." The accusation hung in the air like poison. Kelly's face went through a range of emotions, from hurt to anger to something approaching pure hatred. When she spoke again, her voice was deadly calm. "You know what, Faith? I've tried to be professional. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to salvage this interview and treat you with the respect that I thought you deserved. But you've made it clear that respect is something you're completely incapable of showing to anyone else." Faith crossed her arms, a smug expression on her face. "Finally showing your true colors, are we?" "No," Kelly said firmly. "I'm showing you exactly what happens when someone pushes me too far. And congratulations, Faith. You've officially crossed that line." The studio fell into an eerie silence as Kelly's words echoed through the space. Faith's smug expression slowly faded as she realized that something fundamental had shifted. The audience, who had been watching in stunned fascination, now seemed to sense that they were about to witness something unprecedented in daytime television history. "Crossed what line?" Faith asked, but her voice had lost some of its earlier venom. For the first time since the interview began, she seemed uncertain. Kelly walked around her desk slowly, deliberately, her eyes never leaving Faith's face. "The line where I pretend that what you're doing here is okay. The line where I smile and nod while you attack everything I've worked for. The line where I let you sit in my house, on my show, in front of my audience, and disrespect not just me but everyone who's ever supported me." "Your house?" Faith scoffed, though her voice wavered slightly. "This is a television studio, Kelly. Don't be so dramatic." "No," Kelly said firmly, stopping just a few feet away from Faith. "This is my show. These are my people. This is my crew, my audience, my space, and you've spent the last 20 minutes trying to destroy everything we've built here together. You've taken our hospitality and thrown it back in our faces." Faith looked around the studio for the first time, seeming to notice the faces staring back at her. The audience members weren't just shocked anymore. They were angry. The crew members were glaring at her with obvious disgust. Even the cameramen, who were supposed to remain neutral, looked appalled by her behavior. "I don't need their approval," Faith said, but her voice was quieter now. "No, you don't," Kelly agreed. "But you know what you do need? You need help. Because the woman sitting across from me right now, the woman who came here with the sole purpose of tearing me down, that's not the Faith Hill that millions of people fell in love with. That's someone who's lost her way so completely that she doesn't even recognize how cruel she's become." Faith's face flushed with anger again. "Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. You don't know anything about what I've been through, what this industry has put me through." "You're right. I don't," Kelly said, her voice softening slightly. "But I know what this industry has put me through. I know what it's like to have people question your talent, your authenticity, your right to be here. The difference is, I didn't let it turn me into someone who attacks other women who are just trying to do their job." "Oh, please," Faith snapped. "Save the inspirational speech for your audience. We both know this is all an act." "Is it?" Kelly asked, spreading her arms wide. "Is this an act, Faith? Because if it is, then what does that make what you've been doing for the past half hour? What does that make the person you've chosen to be today?" Faith opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. For the first time since she'd sat down, she seemed genuinely at a loss. The realization that she had gone too far was slowly dawning on her face. You want to talk about earning your place in this industry? I respect that, Kelly continued, her voice growing stronger. You want to talk about paying your dues? I respect that too. But what I don't respect is someone who thinks that tearing down other women is the way to build themselves up. What I don't respect is someone who comes into my space and tries to hurt me just because they're hurting. I'm not hurting, Faith protested. But her voice cracked slightly. Yes, you are, Kelly said gently. And that's okay. We all hurt sometimes. We all have moments where we feel forgotten or overlooked or like the world has moved on without us. But what's not okay is taking that pain and using it as a weapon against people who haven't done anything to deserve it. Faith's composure was crumbling now. The anger was still there, but underneath it, something more vulnerable was beginning to show. You don't understand, she whispered. Then help me understand, Kelly said, taking another step closer. Help me understand why you came here today with so much anger. Help me understand what I did to make you feel like you needed to attack me. For a moment, it seemed like Faith might break down completely. Her eyes filled with tears, and her hands shook as she tried to maintain her composure. But then, as if catching herself showing weakness, her walls went back up harder than ever. I don't owe you any explanations, she said, her voice cold again. And I don't need your pity. Kelly nodded slowly. You're right. You don't owe me anything. But you know what? I don't owe you anything either. I don't owe you a platform for your attacks. I don't owe you a stage for your cruelty. And I certainly don't owe you the right to continue sitting in that chair. Faith's eyes widened as the implication of Kelly's words hit her. You wouldn't dare. Actually, I would, Kelly said, turning toward the cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to apologize to all of you for what you've had to witness today. This is not what the Kelly Clarkson Show stands for. We believe in lifting each other up, not tearing each other down. We believe in kindness, respect, and treating our guests with dignity, even when they don't show us the same courtesy. Faith stood up abruptly. Kelly, you can't just... Faith, Kelly interrupted, turning back to face her. I think it's time for you to leave. The words hit the studio like a thunderbolt. The audience gasped collectively, some people actually standing up in their seats. The crew members looked at each other in amazement, while the producers behind the cameras frantically tried to figure out how to handle this unprecedented situation. You're kicking me off your show? Faith asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and fury. I'm asking you to leave, Kelly corrected. You've made it clear that you have no interest in having a respectful conversation. You've shown nothing but contempt for me, for my audience, and for what we're trying to do here. I won't subject anyone else to this kind of treatment. Faith looked around the studio one more time, as if expecting someone to come to her defense, but every face she saw reflected the same sentiment back at her. It was time to go. This is ridiculous, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. No, Kelly replied firmly. What's ridiculous is that I let it go on this long. What's ridiculous is that I kept trying to find some way to salvage this when you clearly had no intention of being anything other than cruel. Security guards had quietly positioned themselves near the stage, though they hadn't been called into action yet. Faith noticed them, and her face went pale. Fine, she said, grabbing her purse from beside the chair. I don't need this. I don't need you, and I don't need your little show. You're right, Kelly said calmly. You don't need us. But maybe, just maybe, you need to take a long look in the mirror and ask yourself if this is really who you want to be. Because the woman who just spent the last half hour attacking me isn't the Faith Hill that your fans fell in love with. She's someone else entirely, and that's just sad. Faith paused at the edge of the stage, her hand gripping her purse so tightly her knuckles were white. For just a moment, it looked like she might turn around and say something, maybe even apologize. But instead, she lifted her chin defiantly and walked off the stage without another word. The studio remained silent for several long moments after Faith disappeared through the exit. Kelly stood alone on the stage, her chest rising and falling as she tried to process what had just happened. Finally, she turned back to the cameras and the audience. Well, she said, managing a small smile. That wasn't exactly how I planned to spend our time together today. But you know what? Sometimes life throws you curveballs, and all you can do is swing for the fences and hope you connect. The audience erupted in applause, a standing ovation that seemed to go on forever. Kelly wiped away a tear. Whether from emotion or relief, nobody could tell. Thank you all for sticking with us through that, she continued when the applause finally died down. I hope you'll continue to stick with us as we get back to doing what we do best, celebrating the incredible people who make this world a little brighter every day. And with that, one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history came to an end, leaving viewers at home and audience members in the studio with a story they would never forget. If you made it this far, you're clearly as shocked as we all were by this incredible confrontation. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more unbelievable celebrity stories. And drop a comment below telling me what you think really motivated Faith Hill to act this way. Was she jealous of Kelly's success, or was there something deeper going on? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next video.